Good morning, friends. I'm Donna Zimmerman, your worship associate today, and my pronouns are she and her. We are the Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, BBUUC. We gather in spiritual community because we need reminders of what matters most in our lives, our care about each other, our support of our common values, and our desire to stay connected. Our weekly services, although virtual right now, still weave together our thoughts and experiences with the beauty of readings, sermons, and music that comfort and challenge us to be aware of our capacity to make a difference in our own lives and in the world. To learn more about our church and our many virtual activities to stay connected right now, including classes for adults and youth, meetings, social gatherings, and much more, please visit our website, bbuuc.org. And to learn more about our denomination, go to uua.org.
The words for our chalice lighting this morning are written by Beatrice Hitchcock. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is an everlasting flame for this community. It offers its warmth to those who are cold. It provides light to those who would see. It purifies and transforms the space, wherever you are right now, into sacred space. This congregation into sacred community. May its flame burn true and high and strong.
I invite you to listen to the words of Lorraine Bodorf McNeil for our opening reading. Today is Father's Day, a day in which we honor and offer gratitude for our fathers in whatever form or fashion they come into our lives. Biological fathers, stepfathers, adoptive and foster fathers, grandfathers, spiritual fathers, and all of the uncles, brothers, and friends who, whether they know it or not, have helped to fill the role of father in someone's life. We are shaped by their presence and their absence, by how they choose to act and when they abstain, what they say, and when they remain silent. Let us remember today and always the impact that these people have on us as individuals and a community. And let us also remember that this relationship is not one-sided, and that we, as a community, are called to support and empower the fathers of the world, no matter how they came into their roles and regardless of their relative successes or failures. Let us raise up their triumphs, and let us have the grace to forgive them for their all too human failures. Let us love our fathers and each other. Come, let us worship together.
Hi, friends. I wonder what's in our Wonder Box today. Well, I have our Wonder Box item right here on my desk, so I'm going to turn my computer so that you can see it. What do you see? I see a jar with water and dirt. And I can see here there's a layer of dirt that has floated to the top of the water. And then there's some grayish brown water here. And then there's another layer of dirt that has sunk to the bottom of the jar. I wonder what would happen if I shook the jar. Do you think we should find out? Okay, here we go. Now the water looks really muddy. It's kind of all mixed together rather than being separated at the top and the bottom. And I wonder what would happen if we set the jar aside and let it sit still for a little while. So I'm going to put the jar aside and we will come back to it. Today, the worship service is about the topic of the Sabbath. In the Jewish tradition, the Sabbath is also known as Shabbat, and it's a day to refrain from work activities and engage in restful activities. One Sabbath day activity is reading sacred texts. In the Jewish tradition, people might read the Hebrew Bible or the Talmud. The Talmud contains the teachings of the rabbis who are very special religious teachers. Another Sabbath day activity is attending prayers at the synagogue, which is the Jewish house of worship. The Sabbath is a day to socialize with family and friends. And there are some special prayers and rituals that happen just on the Sabbath. It's a time set aside for rest and spiritual renewal and reflection. Sometimes when we get really busy with school and work and other activities, our minds can get cluttered, like the muddy water in the jar. Sometimes we might be stressed and worried about all the things happening in our lives. It can be hard to keep our minds still and clear, especially if we feel worried or angry or overwhelmed. It can be valuable to take time away from work and from school and even away from our phones and our computers and other electronics to help clear our minds. There are a lot of different activities that can help us clear our minds and feel more peaceful. We can read, go for a walk in nature, practice yoga, meditate, and more. When we set aside time for rest and reflection, it can help us feel happier and more calm and more peaceful. It can help us be more kind and loving to one another. Let's check back in with our jar. Well, we let the jar sit still for a little while, and some of the dirt is rising to the top and some is sinking to the bottom, and the water in the middle looks a little bit more clear. Just like our jar, when we let our mind and body go still, all the noise or the mud settles down, and it lets us hear and see things in a clear way. I wonder, what do you do to try and clear your mind and feel more peaceful? And with this, our lesson is told. Until the next time.
From the corner of our city and beyond, we join together on this technology platform to do what we do as a church family, to celebrate the personal joys that give meaning to our lives and share those concerns that come into our lives as we go through these challenging and uncertain times. Even when we are physically separated, we are still together, and together we are stronger. A candle of concern for Ted and Dixie C. Dixie is in the ICU at Advent Hospital in DeLand. A grueling couple weeks of packing and moving into their temporary home while their permanent home is being built in St. Augustine took its toll on Dixie. She is progressing, and although Ted is alone in DeLand, he states he's doing okay. Please see the Breeze or call the office for their contact information to send cards or to call. Jason C. asks that we light a candle in joyful gratitude for Jean C., who has been hosting the Minecraft for Kids server without missing a single day. Jason is also joyful for the children and their great ideas and teamwork in the Minecraft world. A candle of joy and pride for Elizabeth D., who has been accepted into the training and certification program to become a UU animal chaplain. During and after her training, Elizabeth will offer support for those grieving the loss of a companion animal. Elizabeth is dedicating her training to the memory of Reverend Elizabeth Teal. A candle of remembrance for yesterday, known as Juneteenth. This was when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, were informed of their freedom and the end of the Civil War 2 months prior, after Lee had surrendered at Appomattox. Texas was the last state to receive the notification, and these were the last enslaved people to hear of their freedom. A candle of celebration for the power and brightness of the summer solstice, which will occur tomorrow. And a final candle is lit for the joys and concerns that remain in the quiet sanctuary of our hearts.
The reading this morning is from the book This Day, Collected and New Sabbath Poems by Wendell Berry. In the book, the poems are named simply by year and number. This is Sabbath Poem 1985, number 5. How long does it take to make the woods? As long as it takes to make the world. The woods is present as the world is, the presence of all its past and of all its time to come. It is always finished. It is always being made. The act of its making forever greater than the act of its destruction. It is a part of eternity for its end and beginning, belong to the end and beginning of all things, the beginning lost in the end in the beginning. What is the way to the woods? How do you go there? By climbing up through the 6 days' field, kept in all the body's years, the body's sorrow, weariness, and joy. By passing through the narrow gate on the far side of that field, where the pasture grass of the body's life gives way to the high, original standing of the trees. By coming into the shadow of the grace of the straight ways ending, the shadow of the mercy of light. Why must the gate be narrow? Because you cannot pass beyond it burdened. To come into the woods, you must leave behind the 6 days' world, all of its plans and hopes. You must come without weapon or tool, alone, expecting nothing, remembering nothing. Into the ease of sight, the brotherhood of eye and leaf.
In preparation for our virtual plate offering, I share with you these words written by Kristen Collins. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. During the month of June, our virtual plate offerings go to Rainbow Railroad. You can give through the PayPal link found on our YouTube channel. Rainbow Railroad is a global not-for-profit organization that helps LGBTQI+ people facing persecution based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics. In a time when there are more displaced people than ever, LGBTQ people are uniquely vulnerable due to systemic state-enabled homophobia and transphobia. These factors either displace them in their own country or prevent them from escaping harm. As a result of Rainbow Railroad, more LGBTQ individuals will be able to access lives free from persecution. Since its founding, Rainbow Railroad has helped over 1,600 LGBTQ individuals find safety through emergency relocation and other forms of assistance. Your gifts are deeply appreciated. As most of you know, I am the minister at 2 congregations. One of them is Free Church Unitarian, located in Blaine, Washington. Blaine is a city of about 5,000 people that is located just south of the US border with Canada. It is bordered to the west by the Salish Sea, which is connected to the Pacific Ocean. Blaine is 100 miles north of Seattle, where I live, so I've made the drive from Seattle to Blaine and back many, many times. On most of my trips, I'm in a hurry to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and I take the most direct route on Highway 5. But there's a really cool detour that you can make on the drive from Seattle to Blaine. It's on a road known as Chuckanut Drive. Chuckanut Drive is a scenic byway that goes along the water for 20 miles in northern Washington. There are beautiful views from the road, scenic overlooks, hiking trails, cute little restaurants, and a lot more to explore. One day in June, a few years ago, I decided I would check out this Chuckanut Drive on my way home from Blaine instead of taking the highway. It was a warm and sunny day. At one of the scenic outlooks, I got out of my car and stretched my legs. I looked out through the green and brown of the trees to the bright blue sky and the deep blue waters of the Salish Sea, with the San Juan Islands off in the distance. I felt a deep sense of peace wash over me as I took in the beauty of that location. Later on, I made a stop in a little town called Edison, which is located in the Skagit Valley agricultural area. And if you've ever seen the pictures of the tulips in Washington State, Skagit is where the tulips are grown also. The town of Edison is known for its amazing food, art galleries, and shops. I wandered through the town and ate at the Mariposa Taqueria. I sat at a picnic bench outside in the sun. People around me were eating, talking, and laughing. I let in the beauty of the day, the warmth of the sun on my skin, and the delicious taste of my meal. I relished being free from parenting responsibilities and having a day off from work. I then stopped by the Bread Farm Bakery and enjoyed one of their delicious pastries for dessert. The whole experience was renewing and restful. This day had many elements of a Sabbath day. It was restful and renewing. I didn't spend time working or doing chores or emailing. I had a break from my everyday responsibilities. I appreciated the beauty of the natural surroundings. I slowed down. On that morning, my spirit needed rest and relaxation, and I was lucky that I was able to take that rest. In the book, Sabbath, Finding Rest, Renewal, and Delight in Our Busy Lives, Wayne Muller explains that in today's society, there is a tendency towards work and productivity, and we have lost the practice of the Sabbath to our detriment. He writes this, quote, "Our culture invariably supposes that action and accomplishment are better than rest, that doing something, anything, is better than doing nothing. Because of our desire to succeed, to meet these ever-growing expectations, we do not rest. Because we do not rest, we lose our way. We miss the compass points that would show us where to go. We bypass the nourishment that would give us succor. We miss the quiet that would give us wisdom. We miss the love and joy born of effortless delight." End quote. In today's world, it is possible and even easy to slip into a pattern of being so busy with work, household management, activism and volunteer work, raising children, caring for parents, keeping up with social media, and more. Sometimes it is easier to get caught up in these activities than it is to pause and rest and find balance. There is a message in the dominant culture that our worth is determined by how much we do and how hard we work. In addition, constant exposure to television and social media on our phones and computers can become overwhelming. it is challenging to escape the 24/7 news cycle. Social media, I want to say, is very valuable for many people for keeping connections to friends and families, and in many cases, finding support during difficult times. It has been so incredibly valuable during COVID-19 as we have been social distancing. But like any tool, it has ways to be used that can help and ways to be used that can harm. It's possible to be distracted by our exposure to social media and to miss being fully present to the people and life that is happening in real time around us. The idea of taking time for the Sabbath, for sacred and mindful rest, is a radical and very necessary practice in response to this culture of overwork. Sabbath can allow us to slow down, to find balance, and to find our center. Sabbath allows us to nourish our spirit, to appreciate beauty. It helps us to fill our tank, rest, and recharge. It allows us the opportunity to connect with what is most valuable and important in our lives. For some, it is a chance to deepen our connection with God, with the holy, or with the spirit of life and love. Wayne Muller defines Sabbath as sacred rest. He explains that, quote, Sabbath time may be anything that preserves a visceral experience of life-giving nourishment and rest. Sabbath is time off the wheel, time when we take our hand from the plow and let God and the earth care for things, while we drink, if only for a few moments, from the fountain of rest and delight, end quote. The Sabbath is a time to turn away from work and chores and to take in the delights that life has to offer. It's a time to be present in nature, spend time with family, engage in creative pursuits, and of course, rest. A gift of Sabbath time is that it can help us to feel refreshed, re-energized, and ready to re-enter the world of our work and household responsibilities. It can help us feel more fulfilled in our everyday lives. That sacred time of rest and nourishment can help us return to a sense of wholeness. And from that place of wholeness, we are better able to lead our lives with joy and clear intention. Like the jar of water, our minds can become murky when we're so busy being productive. Sabbath helps us clear our minds and clear our hearts. For myself, I know that I reach points where I am exhausted as a parent and I lose my sense of joy in caring for my son. I feel like I'm dragging. When I take time to rest and nourish myself, I can return to the task of parenting with renewed energy and actually appreciate the opportunity to spend time with my child. Wayne Muller offers many examples of diverse ways that one can incorporate Sabbath into everyday life. He explains that the simple practice of lighting candles can be a Sabbath moment. And here's what he says, quote, find a candle that holds some beauty or meaning for you. When you have set aside some time before a meal or during prayer, meditation, or simply quiet reading, set the candle before you. Say a simple prayer or blessing for yourself or someone you love, and light the candle. Take a few mindful breaths. For just this moment, let the hurry of the world fall away. End quote. Another idea is to take a Sabbath walk. This is a walk where you turn off your phone and pay attention to the sights and sounds around you. You can have a Sabbath meal where you eat mindfully, noticing the textures and flavors of your food and drink. And if you are eating with others, you can enjoy their companionship and give them your full attention. Observing the Sabbath is a practice that can enrich our lives. It encourages a healthy balance between work, play, and rest. It can strengthen our connection to God, or the spirit of life, or to love. It has the power to center us and ground us. It leaves us refreshed and renewed as we enter the world of our day-to-day work. It can help us approach our service and advocacy efforts with a feeling of peace and clarity. May we all find moments of peace, rest, and renewal in our lives. May this time renew our hearts and nurture our spirits. May it be so. Amen.
Our closing words today are the words of Reverend Sarah Lammert. Go in peace, embraced by the light and warmth of our gathering. Go in love, ready again to struggle on. And go in beauty, shining forth like a lamp for freedom. Our worship is ended. Now, let our service begin.